Well, the Thanksgiving holidays are upon us. Travel plans are being made and remade as weather patterns change and meals are being planned and prepared for. Now, our Thanksgiving holiday was originally established after the Civil War in an attempt to bring both sides together around a common story from our national history. But we have gradually come to realize that it's a problematic story. And I just hate that feeling of cognitive dissonance when things no longer make sense. I remember the decorations of my childhood and the Thanksgiving Day plays, but no one tells the children that this sweet story of kind Native Americans helping pilgrims, well, it didn't turn out so well. So each year I feel conflicted. I want to be thankful for the things that I am truly thankful for. I don't want my gratitude to be based on something that isn't really true or just part of a story that makes us feel good. Our well-meaning but whitewashed holiday is incomplete. We might say we're not facing our shadow side, and until we do, our gratitude cannot be complete. Now, the Old Testament passage that we read this morning was the basis of the early European settlers' understanding of why they were in this new world and what they were grateful for. They read the words from this distant past and they claimed it for themselves. When you have come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess, you possess it and settle it, and you take some of that first fruit of the ground which you harvest from the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you shall set it down before the Lord. And you will gather with the Levites and the aliens who reside among you, and you celebrate with all the bounty that the Lord your God has given to you in your house. Unfortunately, they soon forgot that last part of the scripture about living together with the aliens who reside among you, and they forgot the truth that they were actually the aliens residing in someone else's land. Now, half of the Mayflower's original passengers died on the trip, and through that first harsh winter, when the spring arrived, the remaining settlers started building what would be their new home. They received a surprising visit from a few Native Americans, one of them named Squanto, a member of the Pawtuxet tribe. Squanto had been kidnapped by an English sea captain, had been sold into slavery, had escaped, and returned to his homeland, which is how he knew how to speak English. But he taught the pilgrims who were weakened by malnutrition and illness how to cultivate corn, how to extract sap from the maple trees, how to catch fish in the rivers and avoid the poisonous plants. He helped them forge an alliance with the Wampanoag tribe whose land they had settled on. The pilgrims celebrated at Plymouth for 3 days after that first harvest in 1621. It's said to have had 50 persons who were on the Mayflower and 90 Native Americans. And our elementary school story of the first Thanksgiving pretty much ends right there. Much of our Thanksgiving story focuses on this peaceful cross-cultural exchange between the pilgrims and the Native Americans. But we need to remember that tragically, this was one of only a few examples of harmony between the European colonists and the Native Americans. And while it's true that the Wampanoag and the Pilgrims shared a harvest celebration, within 50 years, the Wampanoag would no longer be a free people. To the Pilgrims and most English and European peoples, the Wampanoags were heathens. They were of the devil. They saw Squanto not as an equal partner, but as an instrument of their God for their chosen people themselves. So at the first Thanksgiving, the Wampanoags provided most of the food, and they signed a treaty granting pilgrims right to the land at Plymouth. And what did the Europeans give in return? Within 20 years, European diseases and their treachery had decimated the Wampanoags. Some estimate that diseases accounted for a death toll reaching 90% in some Native American communities. 1623, Mather the elder, a pilgrim leader, was giving thanks to his God for destroying the heathen savages and making way for a better growth for his people. We could go on reading many more tragic accounts of the fighting and the genocide. I'll leave that to you. But I think it is important that we acknowledge that for many Native Americans, Thanksgiving is not a cause of celebration. It serves as a reminder of colonization's devastating impact on the indigenous peoples. We want to be thankful for the gifts of God that we experience every day, but without ever believing again that the God we know in Jesus Christ intended or blessed the genocide of the past. So our prayers of thanksgiving must include a prayer that we never fall into the misguided belief that God loves any group of people less, or that God seeks the destruction of others. And also, by negating this different cultures, we are missing out on a wealth of wisdom that could enhance our lives, as well as preserve this beautiful creation that we are a part of. There are many things that we have to learn from indigenous cultures, those who cared for the land long before European pilgrims arrived on the scene. Now, here in our worship this month, we started Thanksgiving with gratitude for the people who have gone before us, those who have left behind their wisdom. Last week, we gave thanks for the people and those relationships that are still in our lives, those who are walking this journey with us. Today, we can learn from indigenous cultures of this land how to live in relationship with the creation that sustains us, including the earth and the water, the sky, the plants and the animals, even the bacteria and the fungi that live within our skin as much as they live in the soil and the air. Thomas Berry wrote, "We must say of the universe that it is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects." This is something we can learn from our indigenous communities. Robin Wall Kimmerer makes this point clear in her book, Braiding Sweetgrass. Many Native peoples across the world, despite of their many differences, hold in common they are rooted in cultures of gratitude. Now, I am grateful to Alan for sharing one of the prayers of gratitude that comes from indigenous communities. And Kimmerer shares a Thanksgiving address, one that is known in the Onondaga language as the words that come before all else. This Thanksgiving address is repeated over and over by their people. It embodies this relationship with creation. Each part of creation is thanked in turn for fulfilling the Creator's given duty that comes to each. It reminds you every day that you have enough, that everything needed to sustain life is here. And when this is spoken every day, it leads to an outlook of contentment and respect for all of creation. Now, again, she points out that the actual wording may vary at different times and places and groups, but she shares a version that was written by Kanawahintun together with John Stokes. And I want to share some of these words because they speak to our need to be grateful for all of creation. They say, "Together we have gathered, and when we look upon the faces around us, we see the cycle life continues. We've been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and with all living things. Now let us bring our minds together as one as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to all of the waters of the world for quenching our thirst, for providing strength and nurturing life for all beings. We know its power in many forms, in waterfall and rain, in mists and streams, in rivers and oceans and snow and ice. We are grateful that the waters are still here, meeting their responsibility to the rest of creation. Can we agree that water is important to our lives and bring our minds together as one to send greetings and thanks to the water? Now our minds are one. We turn our thoughts to the fish life in the water. They were instructed to cleanse and purify the water. They give thanks, and they give themselves to us for food. We are grateful that they continue to do their duties. We send our fish our greetings and our thanks. We turn our hearts to the vast fields of plant life. As far as the eye can see, the plants grow, and working in many wonders, they sustain many life forms. With our minds gathered together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. We gather our minds together and send our greetings and thanks to all the beautiful animal life of the world who walk with us. They have many things to teach us as people. We are grateful that they continue to share their lives with us and hope that it will always be so. Let us put our minds together as one and send our thanks to the animals, and now our minds are one. And now we turn our thoughts to the Creator, the Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greeting and thanks to the Creator. And now our minds are one. This is a beautiful greeting, and it's a prayer that has much to teach us. Kimmerer reminds us that these cultures of gratitude must also be cultures of reciprocity. Each person, whether human or other, plant, animal, wind, or water, each is bound to every other in reciprocal relationships. I'd like to conclude today with a message from Colin. Our associate minister is in Mexico, visiting with our ministry work in Chiapas with the Mayan Seminary, and Dalia Juarez sends her greetings as well. Colin writes, a few days before I arrived here in Chiapas, Dalia Juarez, the executive coordinator of the Mayan Intercultural Seminary, told me that on Saturday we would hacer bukashi. And being a thoughtful student of spiritual experiences, I asked if this was some sort of religious activity or maybe an indigenous festival. It turns out it was a form of composting. Apparently, I need to be a more thoughtful student of Spanish. So on Saturday, I put on borrowed boots and grabbed a shovel, and we took piles of ash, wood chips, plant waste, manure, and we mixed it with fermenting agents, and we put it all together in a massive pile. And then we moved the pile from place to place a couple of times till we were all sweating and the ingredients were all mixed. Eleazar, a member of the team here, had introduced the Japanese bokashi composting method. Bokashi composting is important because the soil here has been destroyed through years of agrochemicals pushed by large businesses and conglomerates. So through this work, SIM, our intercultural seminary, is helping indigenous communities rediscover ancient methods of organic farming. Wood chips, plant waste, ash, and manure. This is waste, the stuff of death, but together it becomes rich soil in which both plants and dreams can grow. The stuff of death becomes the stuff of life, and this is resurrection experience. He says, today I was reminded that God gave us this great gift of Mother Earth, and sometimes the best way to say thank you is to pick up a shovel. A good message for us on Thanksgiving Day, because expressing thanks, our gratitude, just saying Thanksgiving, showing in some way how grateful we are, can be a source of joy and healing for ourselves and healing for our world.